Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
I want to thank you once again for tuning on. My name is James Batabare. I'm a customs officer working with customs enforcement. I want to thank you for making time to tune on this morning, because there have been a number of issues that I've been asking, especially to do with customs enforcement. Today, we are delighted and glad to host a team of experts from customs enforcement, and allow me at this point in time to welcome our experts to greet you and to delve into the topic that we're going to be discussing this morning. Our guests, you are most welcome. You can greet the viewers.
Thank you very much, James. Poya Gilbert is my name, and I'm the acting supervisor enforcement in Tebe region. Good morning again, viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Dan Mugabo is my name, team lead enforcement team 1. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gilbert and Dan, for joining us. There have been a number of concerns from our cherished taxpayers about enforcement operations, about how you do your work. Some of them have been telling us that they don't understand how enforcement does its work. Actually, some of our taxpayers have been astonished severally that they come, they pay for their goods, goods are cleared through customs, and when they are going to fraud them, they see people coming from customs enforcement, they come and intercept their goods. So I think our viewers out there are more than eager to listen to you, to get to know how you do your work. So I want to request Comrade Dan to give us a snapshot on how enforcement does its work, such that any taxpayer that is out there, any other stakeholder that is maybe willing to import goods, they can get to know how enforcement does its work. So Dan, I want to welcome you to share with us some of the enforcement processes, such that people would be acquainted with our processes, they get to know what we do, and in case they have any other questions, I want to encourage you, please listen in to the team leader of Enforcement Team 1. And maybe also members would like to know, talking about Team 1, do we have other teams? Do we have Team 20, do we have Team 100? Because also our viewers may not be well acquainted with these teams. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, first, Enforcement Team 1 does enforcement operations in Kampala and the surrounding areas, but we also have other enforcement operation and leaders in other regions, like my colleague Gilbert is from enforcement in Entebbe, and then there are other enforcement regional leaders in Southwest, Western, Eastern, and Northern. Coming to what you've said, the role of customs enforcement. Enforcement is one of the 6 divisions under Customs Department at URA. And as you see, the tone that is set by our leaders at the national level, as Uganda, we are trying to do what we call import substitution. So most of the other divisions are mainly concentrating on trade facilitation. That is making all goods enter smoothly, in time, clearance time, and everything. But for us as enforcement, we are like a third eye for those people who are facilitating trade. We try to make sure that whatever enters the country has not deterred or has not gone astray, given our customs laws. So enforcement, we give an enforcement arm to the facilitating divisions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Maybe, Gilbert, from your perspective, what is enforcement all about? Because the viewers, when they hear the word enforcement, the word is so powerful. They may think that you are going to come and arrest them. What is enforcement from your perspective, and also from your area of operation as a supervisor of Entebbe enforcement? How is it? Could you share with the viewers your experience that side?
Oh, thank you very much, moderator. Just like my colleague has elaborated, enforcement is one of those, let me call them units or divisions in customs, mainly to facilitate other divisions. Ours is mainly to check on what other divisions could be doing, and mainly to look at what could be sneaking into the country which hasn't yet paid taxes, what could have dodged our border lines and tried to get into the country. So ours is mainly what we can say, okay, yes, enforcement looks to be a bit of a strong word. But what I can say is that we are also, the word has been changing and changing up to now that we use a more friendly approach, which is enforcing. You're enforcing, but as you're enforcing, you're educating these people. You're talking to them and trying to remind them that they are supposed to do certain things that comply with our customs laws and regulations. So mainly what we do is that we enforce the custom. We want to see that there's compliance to the customs laws and regulations. So the way we operate is mainly through, I can say, intelligence. There will be some bit of intelligence that there's something like this happening in a certain place. So you'd see that we are trying to react, or sometimes we try to avoid some of the things from happening because of intelligence and some background checks. Then we also have what we can call normal, this routine kind of surveillance. So when people are saying, yes, fine, we see enforcement coming in, sometimes we are doing a routine surveillance, and then we find maybe something happening and we want to question. So that's when we start engaging, and through the engagement, then we can find that maybe there's an offense that has been committed. You'll also find us on the roads. Maybe we are doing snap check, we call them snap checkpoints, trying to see who is conveying something that could be illegal, something that has evaded taxes. So you'll find us in most of the places, but we would normally operate and cooperate with different agencies in order to make our work better. So that's mainly, I can give you a brief on enforcement operation.
I think from what I get from Dan and Gilbert is that enforcement is no longer this division that was high-handed, this division that maybe taxpayers would see and they get dreaded. But enforcement is now there to help you as taxpayers to ensure that you comply with the law, but also to check those people who are not compliant. People who are bringing in goods, maybe who have smuggled them, who are going to present an unfair competition with those who have paid their taxes. So enforcement is your friend, and please feel free to interact with enforcement officers. They are there to assist you to ensure that you are able to bring goods and sell them at the right prices, as opposed to these people who may want to dodge taxes. At this time, I want to request Dan to share with our viewers and listeners out there the enforcement process and the offense management process. Yeah, enforcement it has its own processes, and one of those processes they carry out is to manage offenses that are committed within customs department. So I'm going to request our team leader for enforcement team 1 to share with us the processes of enforcement and offense management. You're welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Batalali, for that. Dear viewers, we are going to present you some of the processes that we use in enforcement and the process that we do in offense management. Our producer, could you please share the... So, first, that's the mandate. As my colleague Gilbert has elaborated, we detect and deter smuggling and any other forms of illicit trade. That is one of our main mandates. But on top of that, we also do protection of society by enforcing that word and restrictions. So in that, we mean there are some goods that are prohibited from entering the country, and there are those that are restricted. So for those that are prohibited, totally they are not allowed. Either they cause some sickness in the society, or they cause a lot of havoc when they enter the country. For example, cosmetics that have hydroquinone. And then for restrictions, these are things that need special clearance from various government agencies before they enter. We also do fight the drug trafficking, especially with Gilbert at the airport. We also do combating of commercial fraud and also environmental crimes using the CITES enforcement. That is protection of endangered species in our flora and fauna. Now that is the first thing, that is our mandate. Then we go what guides us when we are doing our enforcement work. First and foremost, we have the East African Community Management Act 2004 as amended. That is the one that takes us in the East African region. All the countries that are in the community use that law. And then we also have the East African Community Management Regulations. And then we also have acts of partner states relating to customs. That is maybe the OSBP Act, single window, or that. And also relevant treaties signed at international level, global, that is under the World Customs Organization. Yes. And then we go to why are offenses penalized under the customs law. First is to deter practices of illicit trade. As you know, when someone smuggles in goods, most of the time they have not been checked. We don't know if they conform with our standards. On top of that, they have not paid tax. This brings a lot of havoc in our markets. When someone has not paid tax, when they go into the market and selling with those people who have legitimately cleared their goods, it is very hard to compete with them on top of the other costs. Secondly, it is protect society, as we had said at first, especially with those goods that we think cause harm to our societies. The electronics, cigarettes, polythene bags, etc. To protect and facilitate legitimate trade, as we have said, we have many porous borders as a land-linked country, but most of them, because of the wide borderlines, cannot be monitored every time. So our work is to always make sure that all the goods that come in pass through legitimate border points. Also, we do collect statistics for purposes of planning, and also do enforce tax compliance. Now, what is a customs offense? A customs offense is an offense defined and punishable under the customs laws. All these are found in the YACMA, that is the East African Customs Management Act. Anything that goes against what has been laid out under that act is an offense. We have many offenses, but majorly we are going to share with you the ones that we usually pick. And the first one is misdeclaration. That is under declaration or misdescription. When something is not described well, it makes it hard for the officers to ascertain the right value for it, which becomes an offense under the customs law. We have undervaluation. This is done maybe through documentation, presenting documents that don't add up to the officer to make an informed decision on what valuation method may be used. Then we have outright smuggling. These ones go through porous borders. They don't pass anywhere on our borders, but as customs, we are always on ground to sense where they are passing and bring them so that we can have them consolidated through the customs system. We have concealment, as we shall share later on the presentation. Some goods are hidden. They are packed together with the goods declared, but some are hidden in compartments, others are hidden in other goods. So it is also one of the most common offenses. And other offenses involving document fraud, especially when it comes to certificates of origin, where people want to benefit from the certificate preferential treatment by giving or presenting certificates of origin that are not right or that are not genuine. Now, what is a seizure? Usually, when a customs officer or an enforcement officer gets you, they say they have seized you. What does it mean? This is an instance of taking hold of something under the authority of the law. When an officer has maybe found a truck along the way on the highway, and they stop it and try to ask a few questions, and they maybe don't have documentation, and things are not adding up, and they impound you and bring you to Nakawa or any other customs station, what follows is that they have seized you. So that is what is called a seizure. What is the process? What constitutes a seizure? First is impounding. That's what we have said. Maybe on surveillance, an officer, customs officer is on surveillance, he finds a truck, and from a few questions and interaction, he detects that something is off, and he brings it in for reporting. That's called impounding. The next process is detention, bringing in the car and the occupants to the customs station, and then delivery of the goods to the nearest customs office. Then, of course, that cannot go without saying you have to get notice of why they have impounded your goods, and that is the notice. This time, let me request my colleague Gilbert to take you through the process flow of the yes.
Thank you very much, Dan. Good morning once again, our viewers and listeners. So I'm going to mention something about the offense management process flow, the chart. So normally what happens with our enforcement process, there's in our routine work, let me say the routine work with intelligence and all that, we normally have to detect that something has happened. So something contravening the law has happened. So in that case, we are confirming that an offense has been committed. Someone has brought in, someone has managed to come through Entebbe Airport. He has concealed phones on his body, and he has managed to pass through because the scanners are screening bags, screening baggage. The person has managed to conceal these phones on his body, and he has passed through the scanners. Then he has been detected that this person has maybe the chest is bulky, the trousers are, looking proportional, something like that. So he's taken and searched, and then they have detected that there's an offense that has been committed. So during that process, there's going to be an engagement. The person will be informed that you have done this, you have concealed this number of phones on your body, and you have contravened such and such a section, which is section 202 of the East African Customs Management Act. You have contravened this section because you've concealed, you've tried to deceive the officer who is looking at you, that you had nothing on you and yet you had things on your body. So an offense has been committed. So in that process of the engagement, there will be statement writing, getting information from the person. So the person will freely mention his actions right from the time that he entered the airport or before the airport to the time that he was intercepted. So all that will be put in writing. Then there will be seizing of the goods. Then the seizing of the goods, and the person is given a seizure notice according to the section of the law that he has contravened. After that, there will be the person who is interacting with this officer will have to open a file. So the file will have details of the goods, will have the statement of the offender, will have the seizure notice and any other relevant information. So there will be a preparation of the file. That file is normally taken to another person. Normally what we discourage is that that the same officer handling this finishes the case. Normally, you have to hand over to another person so that we have a bit of justice. Person maybe when who was not involved, but we'll go through a file and know how to proceed. So in that case, now the person will proceed in a way. Should we continue with the case? Should the person should we manage the case within the office, or should we proceed with prosecution? That is now sending the case for further investigations and all that. So we have two channels that we take in our process. So there's one where we handle the case where the person says, no, I allow that I have committed such and such an offense and I am ready to pay the penalty. Please forgive me. So there's that channel. Then there's another where we see the gravity of the case. This person could be a repeat offender. The person could have brought certain things that are illegal. So it's the gravity that will make us now go into maybe the investigations, trying to find out more and prosecute this person. So there's that channel. Then there's another channel where the person now says, no, let me settle the case within the office. So the officer or the next person, that could be the supervisor, now can constitute maybe a team whereby they will try to see how much they can penalize this person. So there's that channel, and all these are added in the file. So the person now allows to settle the case, and a penalty is levied according to the section. So you'll find that each section of the law has the penalty that it will give. There's section 200, which will say 50% of the value. There are others which will say $10,000 depending on the case. So then there's that direction. So when now the person, okay, the case has been compounded and the person is saying that, no, you have actually given me a very big penalty. I think my case wasn't worth that. Then the person can appeal. So we also have the appeal process where the person now writes and says, my case doesn't warrant this. My case was a bit minor than giving me $10,000. So now that one again channels and goes to another level. So that's you now imagine the supervisor compounded the case. Now then it might go to someone who is ahead of the supervisor. That's the manager. So the manager will look into the case and say, okay, fine, let us listen to this person and maybe we can reduce the case. So that is how our process goes.
Maybe Gilbert.
Yes.
If I would ask, are all offenses can they all be compounded, or are there cases which as enforcement we may not compound? Maybe for our viewers and listeners out there, they need to know if you could shed some more light on the cases which can be compounded and those which cannot be compounded.
Okay. Thank you very much, James. Now, the way I said, it depends on the gravity of the case. You could find the cases involving prohibited goods, and the quantity also matters. The quantity, the value of that prohibition, of what the person was trying to smuggle. So there are certain things that we look at. Gravity of the case. This case could be one which involves violence. You know, there are very many incidences that happen when we are facing with maybe the offenders. This case could be thousands and thousands of US$. So we try to say, no, this is too big to be handled at the station. So why can't we investigate further and maybe find out who is behind this, who is this? So we take it into the investigation side so that we can maybe prosecute and make sure that this person doesn't repeat. There also the repeated offenders. Imagine this person has smuggled today. Then again is smuggling, meaning that the penalties that we are giving the person actually are not stopping. They're not deterring him. They're not making sure that the person stops doing that. The person is continuously smuggling, continuously committing an offense. So what we do is that now this one we say, no, this one we can no longer handle. Let us proceed with the prosecution. So it's just the gravity of the case that will determine the direction we take.
Thank you, Gilbert. To our viewers, you have heard that there are some cases that cannot be compounded. So please do not delight in committing offenses thinking that everything will be settled in customs. There are those offenses, depending on the magnitude, on the value of that case, that the customs will not compound, but rather will go ahead and investigate and prosecute the suspects or the people that are involved. So the cost of prosecution and going through that court process is very expensive. So why do you choose that expensive path? Yet you can be compliant and you clear your goods very well through customs. You are still taking us through the enforcement processes
Yes.
and the offense management.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, we've picked out some of the common offenses and sections of the law and punishments that come on conviction. One of the most common one is the offense to import concealed goods. As Gilbert had elaborated, there are so many forms of concealment depending on which mode you've used.
Yes.
Yes, for people who come from southwestern Uganda, where there is a lot of matoke, some people try to hide goods in those trucks of matoke because innocently on top you see matoke, but inside there are some things. At the airport, people use the body. Some even reach an extent of swallowing some of them. So the section that guides us on that is section 202, and the punishment is usually imprisonment for 5 years. That is when you go for litigation and everything, or a fine of 50% of the value of the goods that have been involved. That one is the most common one everywhere. There is one who had concealed cosmetics as a baby, carrying a baby somewhere in Western Uganda. So concealment is one on our top on our list. Then there is also the one for falsifying documents. This one is mainly when they are clearing legitimately, but the documents are not proper. So the offense there is under section 203, and the punishment usually is 3 years or a fine not exceeding $10,000. This one usually is determined by the magnitude of the case or how much government revenue had put at risk. So depending on the case, the officer will not exceed at least 10,000, but between there and cost $100 or 50. Then another one is that one of offense in relation to prohibited and restricted goods and uncustomed goods. Completely, you have not declared anything, and they find you, the imprisonment is 5 years or a fine of 50% of the value of those goods that you had hidden. Then
Maybe Dan.
Yes, please.
The other day, I came across a vehicle on Jinja Road, and it had some inscription that avoid section 200 and section 203. Please pay your taxes.
Yes.
Is this vehicle for URA? Wow, these people wanted to know that these sections are very dangerous and they should be avoided.
I think that one is converted Magora who has really tested the severity of these sections of the law.
Yes.
Because on top of you concealing goods, now imagine you've concealed goods worth $10,000. The fine there is automatic, no negotiation, no pleading, is 50% of that value.
Yes.
Unless, as I can't put it as cast stone, but you have to go through the leadership and the bureaucracy to have it taken off. So I think that was a converted disciple who is spreading the message that sincerely when you've gotten with these goods, concealment, because those two, the section 203 and 200 usually come hand in hand. Yes. But on top of that, even the vehicle itself has an offense.
Actually, on top of that vehicle, they are also written there that the driver and owner of the vehicle also avoid section 199.
Yes. Let me add something there.
Yes.
You know, that I think I've seen that vehicle.
Yes.
And that preaching is for a converted person, which is very, very good. You see those two sections there, when they they eat into your profit completely. I remember the time in Masaka, there was someone who was male. Like, this was one of the rich people in Masaka there, but was the one facilitating most of the smuggling. He would bring in rice and all that. Was one of the main guys, very rich person, but because of the interceptions that we were having and giving him those sections, I mean, it entered into all the profits, entered into his money, and the person had to now start selling most of his buildings because of those sections. Those sections that can really swallow you. You imagine the way Dana said $10,000 and you're going to pay a penalty of $5,000.
Even before the taxes.
Even before the
These
taxes.
are just fines.
Yes, these are fines. Now remember that when you convert it, it's even more than the taxes.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe the garments where you have the 35 and 36%, those ones there. But now when these other goods, it's more, you'll find that you're paying, let me say 12 million in penalties, and yet your tax is around 8 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So it would be advised for not to get into such kind of actions. Yes.
And for the car owners, we urge you to really, especially those that give out their cars, it is a painful experience when you see the owner of a car coming to claim a car that has been found carrying uncustomed goods, because the law does not exonerate you. Section 199, as elaborated on the screen, was given the different categories, but the least you can pay on a car that has been found with uncustomed goods, the list is $5,000. Now imagine you didn't even get involved in this. All you hear is that your car is at Nakawa, it was found with uncustomed goods. We really urge you to be vigilant on this. It is not an easy case to just keep off. Also, moderator, let me also hit on another offense involving violence. First and foremost, we don't condone violence at all, especially where officers have been involved. But at the same time, we need to sensitize our people that obstructing a customs officer who is on duty is an offense. Is an offense, and upon conviction, you can get a sentence at least not exceeding 20 years. So we urge our people out there, taxpayers, our dear taxpayers, whenever you see an operation involving customs or any other URA officer, first get the details. Don't resort to violence. Don't resort to violence, as we are also working on ourselves. But as long as someone has identified themselves as customs or under an operation of customs in uniform, most of the time we are in uniform, we are in the organizational cars, please just get your facts, because there is always another calm session where the facts are put on table to find out what went wrong. But taking matters into our hands, it is costing us a lot of lives and reputation as a country at large. Then another one.
I think maybe, Mr. Dan,
yes, please.
that point needs a lot of emphasis to our dear taxpayers. We have had a number of instances where our communities where we work in have taken it upon themselves to attack URA officers or to obstruct operations within the areas of board. So as our supervisor is saying, you need to desist and refrain from such practices, because the offense is so huge.
It's huge.
It is very huge. You'll be imprisoned for 20 years. And yet, our customs officers are not violent. When they come, they will explain to you why they are conducting a particular operation. So please let us try in as much as we can to try to cooperate. And in case there is anything wrong, committing a customs offense does not mean the end of the world. You have already heard that there are avenues of settling some of these offenses. So why do you want to commit a customs offense? On top of it, you again commit another offense of obstructing a customs officer. So I think I thought of adding something on that.
Just to add on,
Yes.
yeah, we are not angels. Yeah, in instances where you feel our officers have been unkind to you or they have used unnecessary force,
Unprofessional.
there is always a way you can find us. We can't run away. Let him identify himself. He has an ID. Then get back to their headquarters. We have leadership in every region. You can always report higher. Your officers are here. I've done this and this. But whenever violence sets out and something happens in self-defense, it becomes sticky, both on our part and the community we are working in, which is not good for both of us. We have clear SOPs of operations, what we need to do when we go to the field. So it would not be, I feel the community should be even more firmer when they see some people in customs uniform doing an operation. Just report to the next office and say someone so and so has done this at this particular place, and we have mechanisms of really bringing those people to book other than resorting to violence in the field. Yes, Mr. Moderator, there's also one for assuming character of an officer. Yeah, we have some good citizens there who help us to identify some of the loopholes in our operations, but we also urge them not to assume the character of a customs officer.
Yes.
As I've said, we have clear SOPs of how we do the work. Someone going in the field, you're not in uniform, you're using a personal car. Yes, sometimes we use personal cars, but for covert purposes, can be also an arranged. It is not determined there and then. We shall have discussions from office, and when you cross-check with other people at office, they will always tell you that no, that one we know it. But whenever you see some people who are claiming to be customs officers, not in uniform, not in URA cars, please also identify us, because there is a penalty for them. Mr. Moderator, can I present some of the statistics of how we have been doing?
Please, you can go ahead.
Since July last year up to December, we have made 12,286 seizures and penalties of 3,277,573 US dollars. And this is before the recovered taxes. So this puts us in a high alert that there is something not going right, and if this continues, we shall see more penalties. This is all government revenue to have put at risk. So our dear taxpayers, we don't want to see this figure growing. We need it to go down. Some of the operations we have been involved in, smuggled always found hidden in a house in Wakiso, basmati rice, which is really outcompeting our brothers and sisters from Tanzania who are doing business legitimately. So we need to support our people in the community rather than bringing basmati, but you have to pay the right taxes for it to come in. We have had, there are cars that have been given duty-free benefit, but some people have been using them for other operations. That what you see on the left of your screen was a refrigerated truck, which is meant to carry perishables. But this day, I think someone was very wise and decided to use it for carrying garments. But unknown to him, we had already got wind of that plan and we retrieved it, and those are the garments that were retrieved. And you can imagine this person was going to go on the market to compete with someone who has paid taxes legitimately. So we always help you to weed them out so that we level the ground. Someone here had smuggled sugarcane. hidden basmati shoes and garments in a truck carrying sugarcane. I would think that is an outgrower going to supply one of our sugar factories, but inside there it was another story. Yes, and also we carry out a lot of engagements, sensitization and engagement with our stakeholders. Those are our senior leaders, engaging with different people, religious leaders, local leaders, to harmonize the position on smuggling and enforcement operations. That said, we have a pyramid of compliance. We start from the ground, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
Those are the compliant people. And by default, everyone is compliant. So we treat you all the same. We educate, support, sensitize, train, and of course do outreach, support, visiting and alerting where things could go wrong using other departments, also other divisions in customs. Now, then we go to those who comply but with difficulty. Now, those are the ones with seizures here and there. I don't know, at the airport, you do seize also, or you do penalize.
We do everything.
You assist compliance. And those things are like non-intrusive alerts. All those fall under to comply with difficulty. There are those who are generally non-compliant. Now, the actions become a bit stringent. The suspension of the license in case for the clearing agent, even the importer, the thing can be suspended totally. I think we had an incident where one was even put in the newspaper. Then we also have, when you're like now, the truck that was found carrying garments instead of perishables, they might lose that exemption. They will lose it. Then on top, of course, we have those who have deliberately refused. And that's why we go to the court. And as you see in the sides, legal proceedings, high-level response, assist compliance, and encourage compliance. I think with that, Mr. Moderator, that's all we had for sharing with our viewers. Maybe can take us to the next session.
Thank you very much, Comrade Dan and Gilbert, for the insights on the enforcement processes and offense management. What has come out clearly is that every offense that we commit has got a huge repercussion, both legal and also monetary. So it would be important and advisable that we try as much as we can to ensure that we avoid committing these offenses. Customs management and generally URA have been at the forefront of sensitizing our cherished taxpayers. We have reached out to you in different forms, and we are going to continue making headways on letting you know what we do and how we are supposed to do it, and facilitating you in every possible way that we can. Because as URA, we are a service-driven institution. We intend, in as much as we can, to ensure that we help you to become compliant and you pay taxes. Penalizing you, these penalties are forms of deterrence. It is not that we pride ourselves in penalizing you. No, we don't. Actually, we're only trying to tell you that you shouldn't be what? That you shouldn't be committing these offenses. And as Dan has told you, for you today you may pass through our system without notice, even tomorrow or the other day, but it's not forever. The day we get you, you may find that you may be able to lose what you had actually made previously. So I want now to go through the Q&A, the number of concerns that have come through, and I want us to answer them very quickly. Within the next 15 minutes, we should be done. There's a question from Frank Kutesa. He has said, "Hi team, please, why can't you put all your energies on making people aware of the right path to work with customs and become compliant than making them aware of the offenses and penalties. Majority of Ugandans, especially importers and exporters, are not aware of customs procedures. Don't concentrate on giving penalties, instead concentrate on limiting penalties on people because they are not aware of what is required by customs, especially on changes happening in customs every day. Thank you. I think, Frank, you are being a little bit not genuine with us because, as I've said earlier, is that customs and URA are the forefront of sensitizing our cherished taxpayers. The issue of customs procedures, we have a team that has been here before, and the other teams who are mainly in this area will ensure that they come back and they take you through the customs procedures. Today, we are mainly looking at enforcement processes and offense management. In as much as we are aware that there are other issues that are concerning our esteemed taxpayers, but particularly for today, these guests that we have, these are people who are working in enforcement division. They are people who are at the forefront of enforcing the law. And I would be more than glad if you ask questions that are within that line. There's also a question from our friend here, Arito Asaf. He's saying that zero-rated goods are those that have 0% VAT charged on them, and you can claim input VAT on the purchase of the goods and services used for business activities. Zero-rated supplies include exports, medicines, drugs manufactured in Uganda, and transport supplies. I think this was just a comment.
Supplement.
Or a supplement. Kuguzibwe Jeffrey is asking, how are you helping to streamline the import substitution strategy as the customs department? James Ambayo is saying, hi moderator and the guest, thank you for organizing this wonderful session. How can URA best ensure people understand the process of import within East Africa without deterring people who are interested in engaging in cross-border businesses? Yes, I think this one we can answer it. And moreover, one of the advantages of the East African community is to ensure that we facilitate cross-border trade.
Yeah.
So, Comrade James here is desirous to know how supportive is URA towards enhancing cross-border trade.
It's called
It's called James Ambayo.
James.
Humza Jackson is also talking about the zero-rated goods and the process of importing them to the final destination. Gavea Vicky is saying that it has been a great session and she has learned a lot. I can see our friends and colleagues all over the country. You know, customs enforcement is also spread all over the country. So I want to send our deepest regards to Team Tukura. I'm seeing Comrade Basoga Regan here is on. I'm seeing our comrades in Busia, in Maraba, can see Senator Simon here from Eregu, and the whole team of Entebbe is listening in.
Yes.
And I'm also seeing the whole of Team 1 also listening in. Thank you very much, our viewers who are listening in and viewing us. Let me request our guests to respond to these questions that have come through, and then we'll see if there's any other set of other questions.
I think let me start with James's question on the facilitation of small-scale traders at the borders. There are many initiatives that the customs has in place to really facilitate small-scale traders. One of them is the simplified trade regime, where traders can clear goods less than 2,000 US dollars, that is around 7-8 million, without necessarily using a clearing agent. You come with your goods and the officer will facilitate you. They also have simplified certificates of origin for those who are exporting, free of charge, they are not paid for, and all these are done at the borders. And for the border stations that have one-stop border posts, the OSBPs. There is even a section or a unit to help the women cross-border traders, where they are given free storage for their goods in case they delay in clearing them, and an office. And they are part of the border management committees, where they bring ideas and issues or concerns to be handled. So there are a lot of initiatives at the border. I'm mentioning but a few on those of some of the initiatives at the borders.
So I can add something there. So what you had said, the certificate of origin. So you can find that we are also trying to protect this by making sure that actually the goods that are within East Africa are the right ones, by looking at trying to study those documents that are presented. Because normally we have people bring in things which are maybe from China, and after they have stored them in maybe a different country, they try to manipulate the system and use and forge certificates of origin so that they can easily. So we are on that. We have a unit that strictly looks at those documents that are presented. The import substitution bit, that one we are doing. But what we have been even talking about here, trying to limit the entry of certain goods, so that maybe our factories can benefit and grow. Then you have also other mechanisms within the customs, whereby we're using the rates and all that, in order that we can protect our goods and can produce those goods that would have been coming from outside.
So I want to thank you very much, our dear guests, for making time to come and share this knowledge with our taxpayers. And I believe that this is the beginning of the very many interactions that we're going to have, especially for enforcement, because people there have a lot of expectations, they have a lot of questions, they need answers. They need answers, and I want to thank you for really being there and for the knowledge that we have shared with our taxpayers. To our viewers and listeners, we want to thank you for making time to listen in and also view this session. In the interest of time, we're going to stop here. We shall have some more other sessions. I want to thank our team in the studio, the studio. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to come and talk to our taxpayers. We wish you very many happy returns in all your endeavors. Till next time, bye-bye.